let's get things rolling off here. This is set number 1, AVANT-GARDE versus Rush. And yes, if you're not familiar with Rush, they are a fairly new team. They don't have a huge record here in the first season. Only one match actually, and it was against Anubis Empire. So it's going to be quite interesting how they play this time around. And another surprising thing is that I only see 6 members on Rush's side. They could be playing with just a 1-player disadvantage right now, but they only have 6 players, so they will have a slight disadvantage right there, losing one of their T1s. So yeah, Brandon, why don't you take us through some of the tank selections these guys went through?
Well, looking at AVANT-GARDE selection, they have 1 AMX-50, and then from there a bunch of light and medium tanks, 2 T-69s, and 1 AMX-13 and 1 WC-132. And of course, as you've mentioned before, for Rush, they're only playing with 6 players. Pretty interesting. They have 2 T-32s and 3 T-69s going with the T lineup there.
Yeah, and the thing is, even though Rush only has 6 members, I kind of like their tank lineup a little bit better, just due to the fact that you have an extremely strong front line with those T-32s. Those T-32s take so much damage, and then those T-69 can really do any job out there. I mean, it can be a dealer, it can tank damage, it can scout. It has enough mobility to do that as well, so I really like the tank lineup from Rush. However, AVANT-GARDE have a pretty decent lineup as well. They really want to use that long range of the AMX-50 plus the mobility of their lighter tanks to not take too much damage up front and then slowly deal damage to Rush from afar. So yeah, really contradicting strategies here. Rush is kind of more of an in-your-face kind of team comp, whereas AVANT-GARDE more of a kite and just kind of engage from a long range.
Yeah, we see AVANT-GARDE playing these kinds of strategies on the bigger maps, so not very surprising. I know I've seen Blade on the WC-132 so often. He's one of those guys, kind of like Bets guys, who loves that tank, plays it very often whenever he gets the chance. So we saw there just Blade and a lot of the AVANT-GARDE members going very far forward, scouting, and they have a good setup down there in that bottom left corner. And for Rush's case, they're like slowly pushing down the middle with almost all of their tanks, leaving one of their medium tanks a little bit back. So an interesting push here from both of these teams.
Yeah, both teams have actually committed to the more of the western side of the map. Avant, so both of the AMX-50 plus the 2 T-69s on AVANT-GARDE side are camping down here in the southwestern corner of the map, and they're allowing Blade and JAMA-128 to be the scouts and to try and light up those members of Rush, and so this AMX-50 and the 2 T-69s can throw down this damage from so far away. But unfortunately, Blade has taken a lot of damage right here. He's taken down to 50% health, and Johnny B. Good and Ruru Taras and the other members of Rush are now repositioning, moving towards the railway right now, and they're gonna have a nice, much better spread here. But look at Blade taking even more damage there. He has to be careful, and even though Rush are a member down, they're playing this superbly.
Yeah, they're a member down, but like, I'm very confused about AVANT-GARDE like sending Blade really far forward. I mean, he has the protection from the back a bit. They do have that AMX-50 in the back, and of course the T-69s, but he was very far forward. He took a lot of damage, and now he's only at like 10% health. And just, I'm not sure what the idea was. I know he likes to do that and be very aggressive kind of and see what's going on and spot some tanks, but he stayed there for a long time. Not exactly sure.
Yeah, I mean, he took a lot of damage. He's definitely one shot away from dying here, and that could signal a push for Rush. I mean, just due to the fact that Blade is so low. I mean, now they have even less firepower to take down these heavier forces, especially those T-32s, which are probably the biggest problem right now. I mean, as long as those T-32s are healthy, it's going to be extremely hard for AVANT-GARDE to penetrate that defense, at least for the time being. What AVANT-GARDE has to do is they have to continue to land shots onto Rush. However, Rush is just trading phenomenally well. They're really taking the advantage in these long-range engagements, in these long-range trades. And eventually, if AVANT-GARDE don't do something differently here, Rush is going to rack up a huge advantage, and it's not going to allow AVANT-GARDE to come back from this. So, I mean, it's not at that point just yet, but if AVANT-GARDE don't do something a little bit different right now, if they don't reposition and try and get some better positioning against Rush, then they're going to eventually be surrounded, and then they're going to get suffocated.
Yeah, like we were talking about before, like it's all about taking those little advantages, and having Blade already down so low, like he can't be as aggressive. They're not a tank down, but like just here, you know, his presence is not there. He has to be a lot farther back, and the light tank is a lot
Blade goes
higher,
down.
and he goes down right there. Now they're down a tank. He was so close, and just getting that one hit. This is just going to snowball.
In danger too.
James taking a lot of JMO is taking a lot of damage, and just he's out here in the open as well. I'm not sure like why these guys keep doing this. I know the light tanks are good for dodging shots and stuff, but you're taking a lot of risk by doing this.
JMO's trying to get vision on those rush members for that AMX-50 and those two T-69s, but look at that Zen Yelder taking so much damage here in his AMX-50. He does not go down just yet. He is still alive. Vision has been lost on him, but look at that. Even though both JMO and Blade were lining up those members of Rush, they still can't do damage.
Yeah.
They still cannot do damage. Look at JMO taking damage right now as well. They can't penetrate that front line of Rush, and it's really, really paying off for Rush at this moment. Look at that. The other tier 8 light elite scout goes down. JMO going down right there. It's a 16 tier point advantage. And the thing is, that another funny thing is that since Rush also only have 6 members, there's also, they don't have to risk their extra T1. It's kind of like they already have, it's kind of like they're securing one of their tier points right there. So I mean, it could work out a little bit, but I mean, honestly, Rush is just playing this phenomenally well. They're really, really, really taking advantage of their positioning and how poorly AVANT-GARDE is positioning against them.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. Rush, like I don't quite remember them from week 2. When I first saw their name, I was like, oh, I'm not exactly sure who this is, but I do notice some of the names. Like I know Mulder right here even, and Bata Tanks. I've definitely seen those guys before. I'm not sure if it was on this team or another time, but they're just playing really well, like slowly creeping up here and just covering all their bases. Like there was one light tank from AVANT-GARDE who was on the railway, and he tried to poke over and do a bunch of damage, but then Rush immediately responded. They sent 2 of their medium tanks over there to stop him, and he had to push back. And then in the middle, Blade didn't have the support anymore, and it just kind of, those little advantages, you know, responding to the information and just taking what you can from it, taking the little advantages.
Yeah, definitely. So Rush is doing a phenomenal job of that, really adding up these advantages until really there's absolutely nothing that AVANT-GARDE can do to come back from this. Look at that, Zen Yelder down to 100% health. He's about to go down. There he goes. Only 2 tanks now remaining on AVANT-GARDE side. There's Dodgy Bob. Same with Hermit Tech. They are quite healthy, but continuing to take damage right now. It's only a matter of time before Rush closes out the set.
Yeah, man, this is just like a shooting gallery. Look at this. Like AVANT-GARDE is in the back there with a couple of their tanks, and just a line of Rush tanks, 5 in a row. Mediums and heavies, and the T1 is in there somewhere doing something, and they're just there, and they just fire at the same tank over and over, and they take one by one by one, and now they haven't lost anyone.
I know, and they're still so healthy as well. Like AVANT-GARDE couldn't even take any of these tanks down on Rush to like 1 hit away from dying. Like even though, let's say for example, AVANT-GARDE didn't lose all of their tanks over there, you know, even if they lost only 1, just the sheer amount of damage that AVANT-GARDE took, it just gave him no option to come back from this.